God of War is back, and it's arguably better than ever. We've been having a lot of fun with Kratos and Atreus on their father-son road trip, sharing stories, rowing around on a picturesque lake, and killing pretty much everyone and everything we come across. But there are a couple of things we wish we'd known before embarking on 30-odd hours of gameplay. So, just in case you're still to start your own beardy Nordic adventures, here are 8 things we wish we'd known before playing God of War. You'll need to return to a lot of puzzles later in the game, so don't waste too much time hanging around a chest you literally can't open yet. It's something the game doesn't make explicitly clear, but accessing a lot of hidden treasures require you to come back later after gaining a particular power-up. We spent more minutes than we'd like to admit scanning the scenery and throwing our axe into innocent shrubbery, only to wander off, defeated, and find out later that the solution was just getting to a point in the story where a special arrow type was unlocked. Generally speaking, if a chest is covered in a weird substance that hasn't been properly explained, it's not accessible just yet. If the chest is clear and or covered in runes, you can probably get it opened, so long as you can figure out how. And when we're talking about runes, that's usually easier said than done.
How do I explain this? I've added... Oh, I see. Figured it out on your own then. Just, never mind. I wasn't just explaining the beautiful and complex artistry of my craft or anything. No, just... anything to help you. Yep.
It's worth upgrading more than one armor set at a time. This isn't Fashion Souls, as tempting as it might be to dress Kratos up to look as daddy as possible. Different armor sets grant different properties. Some will boost your elemental resistances, some your defense, some your strength and attack power. You can probably muddle through wearing the same stuff all the time, but if there's a fight you're struggling with, there are probably some passive boosts you can get from your garb that will go a long way to helping you out. Don't worry about spending hack silver, there's more than enough of that to go around. It's other resources that are the tricky part of choosing what to upgrade. But enemies like travelers and ancients, who hold items needed to craft and boost higher level gear, can be found easily enough, especially in the deeper levels of the Lake of Nine. It's defeating them to actually get those items that's the problem. And be sure to keep an eye out for language ciphers that will unlock travel to other realms. It's there that you'll find, by far, the best armor in the game. You'll need it. God of War's combat is a lot tougher than we initially gave it credit for, and on that note, your shield is far more important than you might think. Given that earlier God of War games were button-bashing hack-and-slashers where you would usually come out on top so long as you were constantly attacking, you'd be forgiven for thinking this was more of the same and approaching battles much in the same way. But it very much isn't. A lot of lengthier battles against heavily armoured opponents rely on you using your shield and really learning to get parrying down pat to deal considerable damage. If you just thrash around continually with your axe, you're going to have a problem. But taking time to block, parry, and counter can make fights that otherwise completely stump you much easier. It also pays to actually pay attention to the skills you unlock and what they do too. We really struggled with ancient fights, for example, because we kept getting beaten back by their projectiles, until we unlocked a skill and properly used our shield to send projectiles flying straight back at our attackers. And speaking of skills that will help you get out of hot water, spend your XP. Don't forget and hold on to it for far too long like we did. A lot of the earlier skills are dirt cheap and can really help you out in a pinch. But more than that, God of War's combat only really gets going once you have a lot of different moves and counters to choose from. That's when it evolves from just a choice between light attack, heavy attack, and throw, and becomes something much deeper and far more satisfying. So it's good to get on that as soon as possible. And don't worry about hoarding XP points that you might need for later. There's plenty to go around. Crafting and upgrading is more linear than it seems. Early on, like us, you might well stress out about not having great matching armor sets that look cool and dish out big stat boosts. The FOMO is real, even in single player games. But this really isn't a game where you can grind to get ahead. God of War makes sure to pace you and dish out the possibility for upgrades piecemeal as the story progresses. So don't think you can rush ahead and get Kratos beast moding his way through the second half of the game. You can certainly get ahead on resources and have a selection of upgraded armor pieces at the ready, but the majority of your most important stuff, your Leviathan axe for example, needs specific key items only handed out after big boss fights or set pieces to upgrade to the next level. So don't feel like you're lagging behind or missing out on cool stuff. You almost certainly aren't. You'll be doing a lot of backtracking, so don't worry too much about missing chests here or there. God of War is a big game, but the majority of locations are places you'll see again and again, so don't think you have to laboriously scan a location from top to bottom before you can move on. There's rarely a time where you'll be locked into completing a story quest before the game will let you off the leash and explore at your leisure again. It's actually super generous with letting you do what you want, when you want. It's easy to get stressed out thinking that if you don't figure out this one puzzle, you'll never get an opportunity to raid that particular chest ever again. But this almost always isn't the case. So just enjoy being carried along with the story if that's what you really want to do.
Go through?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. This kind of goes hand in hand with God of War being such a huge game with a lot of big open areas and places that you can and should return to. But there are a lot of secrets and treasures that you don't have to complete the very first time you come across them. Tears are a perfect example of this. These rifts open up in a variety of locations, especially around the Lake of Nine. And it can be easy to assume that you're encouraged to open them up the second you first set eyes on them. But the fact is, you aren't. And sometimes, you shouldn't. Tears can unleash powerful enemies that must be bested in order for you to seal them. And a lot of these enemies are a much higher level, as indicated by their purple health bar. They'll one-shot kill you if given the chance. That's not to say it's impossible to beat them, far from it. It's just that fights with them will be far more frustrating. And rather than bash your head against a wall trying to chip away at them, sometimes it's a much better solution to just come back later once you've leveled up a little. You'll be no worse off for it, and you might be a little less angry.
Wow, we actually did it. And you!
Sindri is by far the best character in the game. There's no point in arguing, don't add us on this one. He's the only person within a 200-mile radius that calls Kratos on his grumpy bullshit, and he's a much-needed bit of comic relief in a game that often takes itself a bit too seriously. We love him, all other characters in the game pale in comparison. End of story.
What are these?
Braided mistletoe arrows, straighter than Heimdall and perfectly weighted.
Oh. Thanks?
Oh. Okay. Hold on. Ooh, not that. Have you seen my brother again?
Yeah, he said you lost your talent.
Oh, and that I'm selfish? No, I'm sure. That I value a weapon's look? No, over its purpose. That I'm pretentious? No, and uptight. Fussy! I know what he thinks, but he can't hurt me any— Ah! Burn that.
If you enjoyed this, do be sure to check out our other God of War videos, including one where Johnny and I play the first hour or so of the game. And be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with more from Eurogamer. Thanks for watching. Bye!